Cornyn. Well, in typical Washington fashion, let me start out with some acronyms. CFIUS, FIRMA, ECRA, and FARA. I want to ask two questions about those topics. One is, in 2018, we did export control reforms. We reformed the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States and gave Treasury Department, which convenes that, the CFIUS, a lot more resources, and I'd like to get your analysis of what's changed and what needs to change, what hasn't changed. And then on FARA, we've done a lot of work. I know, particularly in the Judiciary Committee, Senator Feinstein and Senator Grassley and me trying to get reforms of the Foreign Agent Registration Act. The Lobbying Disclosure Statement is a Lobbyist Disclosure Act, I think it's called, provides an out for foreign agents to register as lobbyists, but not as foreign agents, and basically impeding the benefit of our knowing who's a foreign agent and who's not. I think this is one of the biggest untold problems that we have dealing with foreign countries, including China, is we know other countries hire lobbyists and other agents, but if we don't know who they are and what their agenda is, it's pretty hard for us to put that in the proper context or protect ourselves. You know, we're supposed to represent our constituents and Americans, not the interests of foreign countries. But if we don't know what the who's who, it's a real problem. So I might ask the three of you if you have something you could tell us about the CFIUS and FIRMA and export controls, and if you feel like we are where we need to be, if there's more we need to do. And then I think I heard Mr. Pottinger talk about FARA as I was walking in, but I would invite any one of the three of you to talk about that issue as well. So maybe, Mr. Evanina, can we start with you?
Thank you, Senator. And great question. And all three, CFIUS, FARA, and FIRMA, are very important aspects of how the government deals with this epidemic. I do think that subsequent to the legislation in a few years ago, I think we still need to appropriate more resources to it. I think, yes, it was housed in Treasury, but there are a multitude of other agencies who could add value to that, who did not increase resources to that effort. So I do think it's the right vehicle. There's just not enough people in that vehicle to do that work. So I'll caution with that. Secondarily, I think the premise of some of these is a little skewed because, as Anna talked about, the non-traditional collectors who come here either wittingly or unwittingly working for the Communist Party of China don't know they're lobbyists and don't know they're here registering as a foreign agent. Most likely they're not. And oftentimes they can conduct high-level research at a ceramics lab or an institute and then get a phone call one day by someone back home. They don't know that they're an agent of a foreign power and they don't know that they're a lobbyist. So I think sometimes the nomenclature and lexicon needs to be shaped and formatted more towards the non-traditional collector.
Ms. Puglisi, would you care to comment?
Sure. So it's encouraging, and all of the hard work that everyone on the committee has done, especially in these different areas. I think going forward, going back to my remarks, I think it's important to remember the multifaceted ways that China targets our technology and how different the systems are. I think one of the challenges as we break this problem down into specific slices, we as a country, because we are a law-based society, because we are a rules-based society, try to get things narrowed to a specific point. But when we're dealing with a non-rules-based adversary or entity, it makes those policies much more difficult to not only enforce, but to have the desired outcome. And so I think as we move forward, we need to think about what is the desired outcome of the efforts across the board with technology acquisition, and how do we mitigate some of these activities and design policies and programs in addition to the ones that we already have that get at how do you deal with a non-rules-based entity.
Mr. Pottinger, would you care to comment?
Senator, thanks for your leadership on FIRMA a few years back, which was a real improvement on on CFIUS. I would say that where there's still a loophole is in the area of venture capital and private equity. Beijing benefits enormously just from having a seat on those funds. It gives it a sort of a panopticon to see all of the newly emergent companies and technologies that they want to then target for more in-depth scrutiny and investment and theft. I think it's on the FARA front, making a searchable public database that's frequently updated so that it becomes much more public and much more comprehensive. That all of that activity that you were referring to, some of which is not currently captured, but which needs to be. Thank you.
Senator Casey.
Mr. Chairman, thanks for having this hearing.